Hi everyone, I'm coming to you from Bitspower USA. Here we got the Titan 1, and I'm going to show you guys how to install the water cooling block to your processor. For some of you who may not be quite familiar with how to do it with water cooling, and some of you who may be working with hard tubing for the first time as well. For this demo, we're going to be using the ASUS ROG Strix X570-E gaming motherboard. We also recommend that you have all accessories and fittings ready for installation. We will begin by removing the CPU fan bracket located on the motherboard here. Take a standard Phillips head screwdriver and remove both screws so you can take the bracket off. To make things easier on us, we're going to keep this bracket on so that the backplane does not fall through the motherboard. Take your cup washer and you're going to put it cup side down on the threading. These are screws you're going to be using to secure down the nylon cups. You're going to lead it in with the short end of the screw. Once you have both screws secure, you're going to repeat this step on the second bracket. Now you're ready to install your CPU and apply thermal paste so we can get the water block on. Take your washers and place one on each screw surrounding the water block. Now you'll want to pull out the springs from your accessory kit and place them on top of the washers. For the last step, we'll be topping off this process with your thumb screws. Take a thumb screw and thread it lightly on top of one of your mounting screws. Repeat this process for the other three in a crisscross pattern. Once they're all on, continue tightening them one at a time until you encounter firm resistance. As a general guideline, you want there to be visual gaps in the coils on the springs. When you're done, it should look like this. Now that you have your water block installed, we can now move on to the piping. You'll be taking them and fitting them across to the water reservoir. In your accessory kit, you will have 2 of these hard tubing attachments. For this particular setup, we'll also be using 4 fittings that should be labeled as B1 in your instruction manual. While other setups may vary, for this one we'll be using the B4 fittings as well. In your bag, they may be labeled as RIGOS 5s. We like to call them RIGOS here for short. Now to start off, we're actually going to be starting off with the RIGOS. You'll begin by screwing them firmly into the water block. Once they're in there, you'll want to make sure that the holes are oriented furthest away from the water reservoir as you can. We'll then take your B1 fittings and place them atop on the RIGOS. We also recommend that you detach the top half of the B1 fittings, as we'll be fitting those onto the hard tubing. Flip them upside down so that you can catch the O-ring that would fall out inside. There's an additional O-ring on the inside of your B1 fittings that you'll want to make sure is pushed furthest down in order for the hard tubing to fit securely within the fitting. Now that you have them fastened, we're going to do the same thing over here with the water reservoir. For this, we only need the B1 fittings, but you're going to repeat the same process of taking the tops off and securing the base onto the water reservoir. Once you have those all fitted in, it should look like so. Now you're going to take your hard tubing and the tops of the B1 fittings that we mentioned before, and we're going to line them up onto the tube before we secure them onto the water block and reservoir. To begin, place the top cap of your fitting in first, followed by the little O-ring that you're going to slide in onto the tube. We're going to repeat this same process on the other end of the tube as well. When you're done, it'll look like this. Now we're going to reorient your tubing so the curved portion is towards the water block, and we're going to push it in to the fitting on top. It should pop in fairly easily, and once it is, you can then screw the top cap to secure it down. Now the nice part about having the rigos in this particular setup is it can twist and turn so you can push in and align your tubing towards the reservoir without adding any unnecessary strain to the tubing. And you should push in and get a satisfying pop like you're seeing here in the video. Once it feels secure, you can then begin to tighten the top cap of your B1 fitting on the reservoir to secure your hard tubing in place. Double check your settings to make sure everything is secure and aligned properly. And you should be good to go. You're going to repeat the same process for your top pipe. And once you secure this fitting, your CPU water cooling loop should be complete. Alright guys, if you followed this video along, you should have your Titan 1 all hooked up and ready to go for water cooling. We hope this video was informative, and we hope to see you again real soon.